Okay, so money's tight, the burger stoppo's more unhinged than ever, I watched Hazbin Hotel, and one of my favorite rappers is in the files. What a wonderful year so far. Love 2026. Now who should I...
Oh hey CBF, I didn't know you were running a venue. You, mind if I put on Breaking Bad before you open?
Yo, P, and yes I do. I haven't seen it yet. Right now I'm about to...
Sup, bitches? I heard you were hanging on women tonight, so naturally your boys gotta join that party.
Kaiser, I swear to God... Okay, cool. I was gonna ask the Mary Sue experts to tag along, and now that you're here, we're here to talk about the exact opposite. The main character of Hazbin Hotel!
I need a drink.
Sorry, we talking about the Hellverse? Dog, aren't you Catholic?
I'm gonna send you to hell, bro. Mary Sues. You know them, you hate them, and videos touching upon the history of them are almost as played out as YouTube media critics using the term in a culture war context. But what if we did the opposite? That's where the anti-Sue comes in, to show you that horseshoe theory might actually be real. However, to even attempt to define such beasts, we must turn towards Mary and Gary. What symptoms come to mind when you think of these characters?
They're incredibly overpowered or hyper-competent to the point where tension is as minimal as other characters' contributions. Their accomplishments are questionable and extreme for a given situation or setting, sometimes to the point of breaking that setting altogether. They're also focused on so much by the plot that other major characters just fade into the background much of the time. And lastly, everyone loves them. No matter how boring or out of line they are in context, everyone loves them. Anyone who is in opposition is always wrong, awful, and stupid. Granted, even likable and well-realized main characters can suffer from these traits depending on how the surrounding cast is treated. Characters don't exist in a vacuum after all, and that includes our MCs and MC secondaries.
The anti-Sue is the flip side of all of that, where the Mary Sues are incredibly effective at what they do to the point of diminishing the stakes of the story. Antis are generally so ineffective that they usually need everyone else to do shit for them, cause that's just how much they suck. Their accomplishments are as rare as the time CBF wants to live. I'll leave that up to y'all on how many fingers that leaves. They have so little agency or focus in the plot that you wonder why they're a main character to begin with, and lastly, they're seen as in the wrong like 90% of the time. Now, it's not uncommon for a main character to struggle and even fail throughout a large chunk of a narrative. Good protags do this all the freaking time for the sake of character development and stakes. Nothing wrong with that. That said, unless you're writing a tragic story like Hamlet or a mean-spirited comedy with asshole protags like Ed, Edd and Eddy or some shit, you typically want your leads, main secondaries included, to get shit done at least some of the time. If not, you run the risk of writing a terrible, terrible anti-Sue character. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Morningstar. Yes, that's right, people, we are finally talking about Hazbin Hotel. I am not safe, send an ambulance.
Now, we've been aware of the Helliverse since Pete and I watched the pilot back in 2019, separately of course. Though I'm the only one of the three who watched Hell of a Boss when that came out. While I slowly fell off it due to my own frustrations, I was still curious as to how Hazbin Hotel would shake up once the full series on Amazon dropped in 2024. Then I saw the reception and decided to keep my distance, at least until Pete's morbid curiosity further spiked my own, and I saw a few clips of songs and Alistair shenanigans. While our expectations were low, we were all sad, or glad, to say that they weren't even met. And Charlie's a big reason as to why. I saw a lot of people saying that Charlie was at least decent in Season 1 before she got ruined in Season 2, and
Fuck no.
All we saw was an anti-Sue further cementing her status as the worst character in the show, and probably one of the worst main characters in all of recent animation. Eastern and Western. Yes, there's plenty of videos bashing her character in Season 2 and in general, but I think we still have something new to offer. So ask yourself this. Across both seasons, what does she even do? Here, we'll go episode by episode to demonstrate how little agency she has, how irrelevant she is, and how few accomplishments she has throughout.
So, episode 1. Charlie pitches the hotel to Adam and gets shut down so hard that Adam cuts the wait time for the next extermination in half. You know, the yearly atrocity she created the Let's Redeem Sinners Hotel to avoid. Granted, Adam's an asshole who exterminates for shits and giggles, so there is that. So it's not entirely her fault. However, the issue narratively, and from an audience's perspective, is that, well, that's all Charlie's screen time amounts to this very first episode. That and the bad song number. Not a big fan of those. Not to say that she should succeed at the very start of the story, but with this being where the bulk of her presence in this episode is, they should have made the B-plot centered around what she does well to compensate. Show us why she is leading the hotel and why we should follow her. Meanwhile, the bulk of the episode is about Vaggie struggling with the rest of the hotel staff to shoot a new commercial for Charlie before giving up and making a deal with Alistair. He of course helps with this, and never has to deal with this video camera gobbledygook ever again. Score 1 for the Alistair and or other men saves the day tally. Something something Mousekatools, you know the drill, people.
Episode 2. Serpentius joins the hotel under Vox's orders after getting his ass kicked by Alistair. Charlie lets him in by convincing the others not to kill him. He immediately gets caught by angel dust, and Vox tells him to kill himself because he's fired. Charlie lets him in by convincing the others not to kill him, again. They sing a cheesy-ass forgiveness song, and boom! The first real patron of the hotel because Angel Dust doesn't consider himself one. So congratulations, score 1 for Charlie, I guess.
Episode 3. She does stupid-ass trust fall and icebreaker exercises. They accomplish nothing, and then Vaggie takes over the duty of getting Serpentius to trust everyone. Unfortunately, though, most of this is done off-screen after Angel takes the cast to the strip club and Vaggie takes a military combat approach, so Charlie does nothing this time around. Episode 4. Charlie fucks up so bad that Valentino, Angel's porn producer boss and sexual abuser, lays into him before forcing him to tell Charlie off and kick her out. She does apologize at the end of the episode, but this is a Husker and Angel story. So, once again, Charlie accomplishes nothing. The most that they do is ask Husk to clean up his mess when he grills Angel so hard that he leaves the hotel. And I mean, we don't really have a problem with her not helping Angel Dust's situation this time, since she knows very little about Valentino or the extent of his abuse of Angel Dust. But her nosiness and fraternizing with everyone during filming leads to the set getting burned, and that's what gets Angel in trouble. It's annoying and contrived, but at least it's in character, and her character sucks.
5 months have passed, and we're at episode 5 out of 8, and the extermination is 1 month away. All she can do is see that how she's accomplished literally nothing, and that progress with Angel and Penchas has been minimal, even though all she's bothered trying to do are shitty YMCA camp counselor exercises. She's made no attempt to get to know these people or learn what kind of lives they led which led them down here to hell. Scanner wasn't this out of touch. I don't give a fuck if it's played for laughs to show Charlie's incompetence. Why is this dramedy so focused on murdering the integrity of its drama and setting for the sake of comedy? Especially when it isn't even funny about it like early Ruby was. Also, Charlie gets peer pressured into asking her dad for help. She struggles to convince him to back her up and give her a chance to talk to the courts of heaven because sinners and angels suck. But with a bit of singing, while Alistair protects the hotel from some loan sharks, score 1 for Alistair, Lucifer comes around. Score 1 for Charlie, I guess. I'm sensing a pattern here.
Episode 6. Oh my god, this one. So, Charlie argues with Heaven. Neither side seems to know jack shit about what redemption actually is, or looks good at all, but she does get them to watch Angel Dust undergo some character development by trying to be responsible for Nifty and standing up to Valentino. Charlie had zero involvement in Angel's development whatsoever, though, and it accomplishes nothing anyway other than getting the angel Emily to side with her. Oh wait, and that only happened because Adam let the existence of the angel cause slip, which Emily didn't even know about apparently, despite it being a yearly occurrence. Just this world building is fucking terrible. Sarah tries to justify it, but Charlie and Emily aren't having it, and both Charlie and Vaggie, who join her before getting out as an angel, are sent away. Not giving this to Charlie at all since she didn't really have agency in how this played out. Adam fucked up, and Emily went, "Wait, hold on, that's awful!" Plus, Emily has no effect on the rest of the plot anyway. And also, notice how Charlie dragged Vaggie along for this despite her protests, and how the next episode partially focuses on her getting over her anger and distrust over Vaggie not telling her about being an exorcist angel. That's literally the main reason why she's here, which wouldn't be bad if Vaggie was doing other things during this scene, but yeah, not much of note there either.
Episode 7. Alistair makes a deal with Charlie for a favor in exchange for information. He then strings her along to Cannibal Town, where, with a little help and counseling from Rosie, she's able to sing her way into getting them to join the fight against the extermination. Meanwhile, Vaggie gets Camilla Carmine to train her, and the others agree to stay and fight because Episode 6 onward shows them suddenly being all attached to each other. Score 1 for Charlie, I guess? Would have been nice to see them actually bond with each other outside of Episode 4 and 6. It would have been even nicer for Charlie to be part of all that bonding off-screen in Episode 3, but hey, now they're ready to fight the ADF!
And finally, we reach Episode 8. Serpentius dies trying to take out Adam and is redeemed because he risked his life to save others. Except Charlie had absolutely zero involvement in this development after getting him to stay back in Episode 3. She gets her ass handed to her by Adam Yahoo after going full demon mode for the first time in the series, put her ass on fraud watch. And she has to be saved by Lucifer, so they can double team Adam when she tells him to watch out for a singular attack. Score 1 for the men, again. Shame about one of her pets though. Not that Demon Princess KP cares about what happens to her pets or anything. Also, Nifty kills Adam, and Lucifer takes charge in the song about rebuilding the hotel. You might have noticed a few things. First off, Alistair and Lucifer save the day about as many times as Charlie gets anything done. Hell, more if we count the pilot. Alistair does more shit in general than Charlie with his attending the Overlord meeting in Episode 3, as well as kicking both Vox's and Pench's asses in Episode 2, because Alistair is the creator's pet. Secondly, we harped quite a lot on Charlie's lack of involvement with the development of Angel and the redemption of Serpentius. Charlie's goal with the hotel was to redeem sinners, so to see her have no actual role in this is even more infuriating than her utter lack of accomplishments or agency in the plot beyond getting people to listen to her once or twice. With the exception of winning over Lucifer via song, all of the important character stuff in this season happened without her direct involvement. Hell, even saying she had indirect involvement feels generous. I know that part of the point is that Charlie is a cloying, out-of-touch rich girl who puts her saccharine mindset above listening to or understanding people. Husk basically calls this out in Episode 4 and connects with Angel in a way Charlie never could. However, you'd think they'd meaningfully address this by the end of Season 1. Or even Season 2 for that matter. They don't. The SAO tier time skips make everything even less excusable.
This brings us back to the points outlined about anti-Sues. Charlie already fits at least 3 of these 4 categories, as we've demonstrated at length at this point. The only one that we can't really pin down for her is the show viewing her as consistently in the wrong. At best, its mindset amounts to, she's not very effective, but damn it, her heart's in the right place. She's got that whipspah in her. Episode 4 calls her out on her bullshit, but only insofar as the fact that she made things worse for Angel, and also didn't address her daddy issues until the episode after. At no point does she consider using Husk, her bartender, for the purpose bartenders often serve, listening to patrons' lives and problems. At least not on fucking screen, which is why this dumbass scene exists.
You get drunk and bitch about him all the time. Everyone likes to bitch to the bartender. I know everything about you and these motherfuckers at this point. That one is an insecure buffoon whose lonely ass watches you idiots sleep. Princess is a bleeding heart who wants to solve everybody else's problems except her own.
What? No, what?
Still, even here, I think you can make a good case for Charlie being an anti-Sue. Only slightly alleviated by the fact that she doesn't fit into point 4, and the fact that at the end of the day, things worked out in their favor, even if through little to no input on her own. Talk about failing upwards, people. What's harder to debate is the idea that she isn't a terrible main character. Stunning and brave take, I know. She and this show by extension do so little to explore redemption that when she's arguing with Adam, the most they do is litigate his cobbled together rules which Angel followed anyway.
The trial in episode 6 is about the validity of her redemption concept, and nobody really argues anything substantial against her. Nobody even bothers referencing the Ten Commandments or other scriptures to show heavenly virtues or some traits or sins that guarantee a place in hell. Lucifer kind of pointed out that sinners are terrible people who kill or whatever in episode 5, but like, rapists and cannibals flood hell. That's undeniable. Pretty sure there are some hate crime offenders, genociders, and school shooters down there somewhere too, not just your garden variety serial killers or agitated murderers. If any of them take the path to redemption post-death, this means possibly reuniting them with their victims. Oh, but sinners and hellborns, who are never brought up by the way, are her people, and a lot of sad little beans are getting killed. Cause fuck depth and nuance. Our goody two-shoes main character needs the second worst character in the show to be some 2-bit turbo-genocidal misogynist with nothing more to him beyond his ego.
It's one thing for a main character to struggle throughout most of a long story before pulling through and developing. Akane Tsunemori from Psychopaths gets multiple reality checks about her job and the Sybil system that governs society in the first half of season 1, with 2 instances in particular costing her dearly. However, by the end of the show, she's making money moves and arguments against the system while exploring the show's concepts in the process, fully coming to her own as both a detective and a main lead. Even by the midpoint, she's putting her career on the line to make sure everyone can identify the main villain. She's able to do all of this thanks to her experiences and failures with her squad mates. She frequently brushes up against, learns about, listens to, and partially influences the people around her as early as episode 4. No, scratch that, episode 2. She doesn't suddenly resolve the plot on her own or anything, but she proves her worth long before season 2 starts. I don't care that I'm comparing a 22 episode show to a show with 8 to 16 episodes when Akane proves her worth much faster. But hey, speaking of season 2, this is where Hazbin lost a lot of people on Charlie, and where the anti-Sue narrative becomes even stronger.
Episode 1. Charlie has to kick everyone out who isn't here for redemption, after being badgered by reporters and getting a pep talk from her dad. Also, Pentious' old peer Baxter shows up and expresses interest in his hypothesis that redemption is impossible, and she has to work the fact that Pentious isn't around anymore and Baxter is no replacement for him. Also, she apparently spent a month crying in her room about Pentious' death instead of doing anything for the hotel. Episode 2. She isn't in this one. Episode 3. Oh boy, episode 3. Kaiser, you better take this one.
See, at the end of the episode, Emily waited until Heaven's borders were closing to tell her that Sir Pentious is alive and that redemption works. Charlie crashes out for a bit. She sees a blimp showcasing a smear campaign against her by Vox Tech, Vox's company, I know, super clever, whom Alistair made a fool of last season. So, Charlie goes from crash out to big mad before scoring an interview with Vox and Velvet at the protests of Vaggie, Angel, and, for a moment, Husker. Keep in mind, Velv and Vox hang with Valentino. You know, Angel's physically, emotionally, and sexually abusive porno pimp boss, and she knows this, like, firsthand. I'm freaking serious. This dude almost had an I'm Alex moment right in front of her, and she seems to just kind of forgot about that. But of course, redeeming the hotel's reputation and showing manipulative media experts that redemption is possible is apparently more important than telling her dad Lucifer about it. You know, because he kinda has heaven on speed dial. She doesn't even turn to Alistair in his radio tower. Not that she knows about his current handicap or anything, and not to mention how incredibly vague that handicap is, so fuck it, who cares. She immediately heads for the V's and expects Al and the others to put up with it. Naturally, he pieces out cause fuck helping his biggest op.
It all goes foobar. Vox outs Angel's sin of killing someone, Charlie kicks Vox and Velvet out, and Angel chews her out again, leaving in the process. Charlie didn't even try to stop the train she set up from going out of control when she's one of the most powerful entities in hell, at least when the show chooses to remember that part. Angel and Vaggie had to risk their lives instead. Charlie put her ego and mission so far above the boundaries and well-being of her friends that she alienated her original patron harder than ever before. Forget simply being negligent and naive. This is SpongeBob season 5 to 9 levels of flanderization.
Episode 4. Charlie tries to set up a talk show interview after the V's slander her again. Vaggie protests, Charlie goes anyway, and brings the chaotic stabby lady Nifty for some fucking reason. Oh, who am I kidding? The reason is obvious, that being that Nifty is the best character. But I don't think you're ready for that conversation yet. Charlie gets dog-walked and slandered again, and Alistair quits because of Lucifer, just before letting himself get captured in time for Charlie to see him paraded by Vox while not doing a goddamn thing. She Karens out about being the Princess of Hell, but doesn't do jack shit about this. I think I'm noticing a pattern.
Episode 5. Charlie tries to attract Emily's attention, and while that eventually works, nothing else really does. Vox is making a show about his plans to take over heaven. Meanwhile, Vaggie gets Lucifer to intimidate Vox despite him telling her he can't kill or harm sinners at all. Heaven, magic, contract bullshit, don't worry about it. I think we can all see where this is going. Charlie gets several angels, including Lute, who doesn't even say a single swear despite having a whole song seething about how she wants to enact Adam's genocide again. But thankfully, it's not her video, because if it was, this whole thing would be like 5 minutes. More suffering for us. So, as you can imagine, they have a strong case of being in Season 2 of Hazbin Hotel, so they thought that sorries and gift baskets were enough to make peace with sinners instead of announcing that genocide is cancelled, which is exactly what they came there to do. And if that wasn't bad enough, Charlie doesn't contribute a single goddamn thing, even though using them to confirm Pentious' redemption was our whole fucking plan. Vox mocks them for it, what a surprise, and when things go tits up, Sarah snaps at the sinners, confessing to allowing the genocide in the first place. When he spins both that and Lucifer's failed intimidation tactics, Charlie gets butt-fucking mad at Lucifer and later Vaggie after learning that she went behind her back, before the latter point-blank tells her that she's ruining the hotel, and the entire show by extension, but we'll talk about that later, by feeding into Vox's bullshit. They have a falling out over it, which spills into episode 6, and then she kicks her dad out after Vaggie storms off.
Episode 6. Charlie and Vaggie's petty high school spat pisses off Husk so much that he flat out quits the hotel before meeting up with Angel and then coming back. They then both fail to convince Carmilla to stop working with Vox after he pressured her, and it fails so hard that she brings up Vaggie's heaven trauma, and she walks away defeated. This is enough for Charlie to finally reflect on and vocalize some of her wrongdoing before Vaggie abruptly sings a shitty millennial radio pop tune with her, and they make up. She also tries to contact her dad, but Vox beats her to it and traps him. In episode 7, the gang, along with Emily, Sarah, and Pentious, vow to stop the V's who just blew a hole in heaven with their super laser piss. So, nothing. She did nothing this episode. Great.
Episode 8. They hatch a plan. Velvet halts the plan long enough that the attempt to broadcast Pentious in Heaven fails, and Vox humiliates Charlie while she does nothing about Emily being in danger. Alistair, who in episode 4 fought the V's and let himself get captured, enacts his season 1 favor on Charlie to call Vox the strongest sinner in hell, undoing Al's soul contract to Rosie. And after Vox is beaten and humiliated, he goes apeshit with his laser cannon. Charlie and Emily work to save a bunch of sinners from the carnage, while not even trying to get the already injured Vox away from said cannon, when it would take Charlie 2 fucking seconds to punch him, fly him out, and either kill him or throw him away. Fraud alert! At least she fought Adam last season with her big-ass power-up, even though she got her ass kicked. Here, nah, her ass is just a fraud. Once the cannon's about to blow, Emily sings a Kumbaya song, which fires friendship energy at it. Charlie and the rest follow suit, and this only succeeds because Alistair convinces Rosie to restore his power after he lost some of it during season 1. And this allows him to help, which allows the rest of the V's to help since they don't want to get blown up. Score 1 for the men, folks! Oh, and Charlie too, I guess, for saving people with Emily earlier. That is her only positive contribution to the season! Oh, and also Pentious' broadcast doesn't fucking matter anyway, since it only goes live after the plot's been resolved. The entire season was about broadcasting his redemption, and it only goes off once the plot wraps up, so they could justify a feel-good epilogue where hundreds join the hotel to redeem themselves, or some shit. Also, Angel goes back with the V's because it turns out he was mind-controlled into being their spy, and he feels that he no longer has freedom anymore, and no reason to go back to the hotel he thinks will just endanger. He tells this to his friends Husk and Cherry Bomb, but Charlie is nowhere to be seen, so their last interaction was in episode 3. 5 episodes ago in an 8-episode season, so it's just like her last interaction with her dad being in episode 6. This is what her development amounted to, folks. I'd ask you if you see the problem, but that would insult your eyes, ears, and fat fuck mama.
Charlie's character flaws and mindsets don't get adequately explored or challenged. She just crosses over every single line she can with her staff until they chew her out and leave. Even her turnaround doesn't feel warranted, let alone well developed. Charlie only gets one scene to verbalize her faults, and it amounts to, "Oh well, my mommy issues let me get in my own way and focus on Vox, so now everyone's leaving, and you were right, but Jimmy's mom, my mommy issues," and I'm like, man, shut your before Vaggie cuts her off and starts singing. There's little substance to any of this, and Charlie doesn't address how horrendously she treated Angel Dust, basically pressuring and manipulating him into being filmed by his sexual abusers' cohorts, knowing that they'll take pleasure in his and Charlie's failure and misery. The bulk of that whole endeavor was played for laughs, by the way. You know, maybe the show shouldn't have a serious story about physical and sexual abuse from a pimp if it's gonna do shit like this or make a rape joke with Pentious. Just saying. Again, brave take, I know. The most Vaggie adds to the apology is a comment on how frustrated not being listened to made her feel before going into the radio pop song segment the moment Charlie starts sulking too hard. Charlie has about as little agency as last time, except she's more reactive while screwing everyone over more than last time, with even fewer redeemable qualities, if that was even possible. She's an insufferable, petulant child who screams, cries, and hyperventilates all the time, none of which we found funny, by the way, yet she mostly gets what she wants by the end. She embodies every negative stereotype people made about Steven Universe, except it's all true.
Pinche blanquita pendeja.
In on-island speak, please.
I'm from fucking Florida! Ow!
Sure, things work out for Charlie at the tail end, but her fundamental flaws aren't examined nearly enough despite the entire season shitting on her and making her even less effective than last time. She fulfills the final anti-Sue criteria on top of accomplishing the rest even harder in season 1. The plot works either because Vox gets to take advantage of everyone being a fucking moron, or because of Alistair's machinations. Neither Charlie, nor Angel or Pentious, the two sinners in season 1 kinda semi-focused on redeeming, had significant contributions to the story beyond failing until never, really, and that's despite Charlie influencing the plots of episodes 3 and 4 with her terrible decisions that backfire on everyone. Charlie's only other impact was how the events of season 1 got the Overlords thinking about their next move. Ruby Rose accomplishes more in the first 2 volumes of RWBY than Charlie does in her show. And the first 2 volumes of RWBY are shorter than the first 2 seasons of Hazbin.
I get that sometimes a main character can be so flawed that a full season or arc will be focused on examining, dissecting, and punishing them for their issues. Look at Thorfinn from Vinland Saga. The show goes to great lengths to establish why he won't leave the Viking life behind until he kills Askeladd in an honorable duel as revenge for him killing his father. They also examine why he won't just kill the fucker outside of a duel. Bad as his decisions are, the pain, the emptiness, and the rejected opportunities are explored in detail. And it leaves him in a spot where season 2 is able to pick up the pieces once everything's all said and done. It's a tragic tale that blossoms into something more. Charlie, meanwhile, is just an unjustifiable idiot with no agency despite winning in the end, and I have no faith that future seasons will grow her out of this. If anything, Vox was right about her.
Look at you! Leading your friends into disaster yet again! You are really bad at this. You are a pale imitation of your mother, and she would be disgusted at the weak, pitiful failure you've become.
It feels like the show is accidentally creating parallels between her and Vox with how narrow-minded, uncooperative, explosive, and manipulative they are, but of course, doing so intentionally would require clever writing and self-awareness. Not that it would excuse how terminally stupid Charlie is, even compared to last time. At least in season 1, you could argue sometimes that her ineffectiveness comes from her being put in insane situations with the American heaven stoppo that she had little control over and no way of knowing how unfair they are. Season 2 has no such excuse.
So, now that we've firmly established why Charlie is an anti-Sue and a terrible main character, because you totally needed us to tell y'all that part, it's time we ask ourselves, what is this a symptom of? After all, when characters are this terribly written, it reflects broader issues with the show at large. Well, the most notable problems in the show's case are its backwards priorities regarding its plots, broader cast, and even its comedy. It's got that Ruby problem of focusing on time skips and side excursions with far less relevant characters or plot points at the expense of our main cast and the setting at large. It's juggling the angels and their conflicts, the V's and the other overlords, the ways both these forces impede the main characters, Charlie's desire to prove the hotel's capabilities, Angels and Pentious' ongoing redemption stories, Alistair's machinations, and more across 8 episodes. And then they do it again. Definition of insanity, people. You can't make this shit up.
They're tackling so much in such little time, while needing to time jump through the plot or make everyone else stupid, that the focus is taken entirely away from Charlie's journey to redeem Pentious and Angel, as well as the time spent on most of the cast outside of like 1 or 2 spotlight episodes, mainly for the guys. We don't get to spend meaningful time with most of them in Season 1, since the show is too often focused on the overlords like Carmilla, Rosie, and Viv's favorite, Alistair. Then in Season 2, we add Baxter to the mix, and he's just a background character most of the time, while half of the season is about Charlie pushing past everyone and pushing them away.
Pentious is so thoroughly sidelined despite his redemption that nobody even thinks to bring him along or use Adam's hologram technology to show him off to hell. He gets a trial spotlight revealing his backstory that had little to nothing to do about him back in Season 1, aside from his final sacrifice, and afterwards he gets benched again, except for when he sings advice to Sarah. Again, he's arbitrarily locked out of the plot for no good reason, and his contributions to Charlie's plan only comes to fruition after the day is saved, making it a glorified victory lap. Yet somehow, he contributes more to another character's development than Charlie does, not counting how she and Husk cause Angel's regression. Speaking of, Angel basically has a reprise of his conflict with Charlie last time, learns 3 episodes later that he was brainwashed off-screen into becoming a spy, and then fucks off out of guilt because Cherry and Husk save him. The only thing I'm missing here is his falling out with Husk in episode 3, and them reconnecting a bit in episode 6 before he leaves. The plot requires everyone to be aggressively idiotic and incompetent so they don't make rational decisions or do anything of value with each other. They have almost as little agency as they do chemistry. And I know a thing or two about chemistry.
Neither of these overarching criticisms are anything new. The show's bloated cast and list of ideas, combined with its brief 8-episode runtime, severely limit the show's breathing room. Plus, it often focuses more on setting up everything about Rosie, Alistair, and Carmilla than our main cast, especially the gals. The show's lack of real spotlight on the women compared to Alistair, Angel, and Husk is another well-worn criticism, which becomes doubly bleak when you consider that this was the show Vivzy Pop said was supposed to be the female-led story, unlike Hell of a Boss.
For example, Vaggy's plot in Season 2 is about changing her name while slowly losing patience with Charlie's bullshit. #can't relate. The latter gets resolved anticlimactically through an abrupt song mid-apology, and the former is just her suddenly dropping the E from her name at the end after like 3 or 4 shitty name change attempts. Apparently, we can come up with 10 different DeviantArt OCs designed to be Rule 34 later, but we can't come up with a new name for one of our main freaking characters. Gundam is more creative with its names than this. A vapid name change and contrived, abruptly resolved relationship woes are all she gets compared to Husk and Angel. I would say this arc is largely played for laughs too, but the laughs were in the negative, so I don't even understand if that was the intention or not. This show owes me laughs, goddammit. This is the arc for our main character's girlfriend and supposedly the 3rd or 4th most important part of the main ensemble, by the way, people. Oh, and if you have a problem with me calling her the main character's girlfriend and not respecting her as a strong, independent character with her own thoughts and feelings, hey, I'm just following this show's example. I didn't write this shit. That's only the tip of the dickberg, by the way. We could go on and on and on and bring up characters like Velvet, Rosie, and especially Lute in this regard. But this is my part of the script, so I forced CBF to cut that part out. You're welcome.
Kill yourself.
Charlie never makes up with her dad for giving him shit, nor does she see Angel dust off. The most that we got of a reaction to him leaving in the finale was one throwaway line in her ending monologue voicemail to her mom. They literally made the finale 1.5 times the length of a normal episode, yet they can't even adequately wrap up the main character's season-specific emotional conflicts that aren't just Season 3 bait.
Then again, maybe we shouldn't expect accountability from a white woman.
Then again, what should we expect from a show that sidelines its premise so thoroughly that even the Season 2 plot about proving Pench's redemption is an afterthought? Hell, she even forgets the name of one of her guests in Season 2.
The most Charlie does to explore her own concept this season is theorize that maybe death is a part of the redemption process, so she briefly considers applying that to Angel Dust before shit happens that forces him to put himself in real danger. Therapy? Angel talks about going up for one, and Husk apparently was given a designated therapist role where he fakes listening and calls everyone else stupid. So I guess Charlie considered this off screen. Baxter's hypothesis of no sinner being redeemable, which goes against Charlie's results, never followed up on. Actually learning about the sins that got someone down here? The closest thing to that is her realizing that maybe Pench has redeemed his own sin, and that Angel should disclose his, while Vox and Vel are there after putting him through the ringer. So no, she doesn't try to learn at all. Her progress and agency are still minimal, and if anything, more destructive than ever. Alistair and Vox do all the heavy lifting for the main plot, taking advantage of everyone else. Charlie just sucks, as a leader/figurehead, as a person, and as a main character. I doubt Season 3, 4, or 5 or whatever will redeem her character with the sheer damage that's been done. Verbalaise didn't ruin her PR this much. Even if she does finally wise up and get the development and teardown she needs and deserves, respectively, she's still fucking dog shit for 2 whole seasons until then. It's unlikely that she'll get a lot of agency even when we finally get to Lilith next season, especially since we have to juggle Alistair's schemes, Valentino's plans, Lute's revenge probably, and Angel's family and redemption, the last of which Charlie should be, but probably won't be heavily involved with.
Now I know what y'all are about to say. Yes, Amazon only gave Viv and Co. 8 episodes per season, but that doesn't excuse the problem. If anything, it embodies a common issue with modern TV and streaming shows nowadays, always being given 8 to 12 episodes. Some of these showrunners can't properly fit their ideas into these chunks while making their characters and ideas feel well realized, hence the dogshit sequel baiting. These are the consequences of a plot-driven, anti-filler landscape in society. Let's not get this shit twisted. The writers had every opportunity to cut some things down, and they chose not to. You know, kill your darlings and all that shit. This is your job.
It's funny because Charlie kind of reminds us of Ragatha, my favorite character from the Amazing Digital Circus. Both have hyper-positive and neurotic personalities, focusing more on the need to validate their idealistic worldviews and mommy issues, and both have alienated the people around them with some of their bullshit. However, Digital Circus does a lot more to explore Ragatha's faults, and give her both the space and agency to grow than Hazbin does with Charlie. Sure, Digital Circus is a more character-focused show, while Hazbin's a plot-heavy musical, but one has only 7 episodes right now, and the other has 16, while acting like it has a ton of character drama. Ragatha's uglier sides felt surprising and challenging, Charlie's felt obnoxious and tepid, despite her issues and actions being so much worse. If anything, she's like that one plushy Ragatha song from one of the merch drops.
Sunny days and rainbows, getting hugs and petting kitty cats. When you feel down and in the mud, instead of frowning, do a silly dance! Take it away, Zooble!
Also, since we're a bunch of strapping, cock-swinging men, we will not be delving too deep into the internalized misogyny criticism levied against Vivziepop and the other writers, some of whom are male, but she's the main visionary, so of course she gets the most shit. What we will absolutely acknowledge as hilarious, however, is the fact that Charlie constantly needs a man to save the day, as much as, if not more than if we count the pilot, the number of times she genuinely accomplishes something. Does this shit help her case? No. Do I believe it's misogyny? Absolutely not. But is it the most hilarious thing humanly possible? Abso-fucking-lutely. It's kind of funny since a lot of culture warrior douchebags tend to hate a lot of modern Mary Sue characters for being girl bosses who outshine and demean the men, whereas Charlie demeans men, yet let them fix the plot for her, even when she isn't around. Again, it's not about her making human mistakes or allowing other characters to contribute. It's about things going her way while doing less than nothing and being seen as barely relevant garbage. After all, even an anti like Charlie can have a bit of a Mary in her.
So yeah, Charlie is an anti-Sue and one of the biggest victims of the show's backwards priorities, which completely headshot the main cast in favor of idiotic plot shenanigans and constant, superfluous setups for future seasons. She was a failure in Season 1, and she's a failure now. And until Season 3 inevitably fucks up trying to develop her and Lilith, she remains...
an irredeemable piece of shit. Aw. Who saw that coming?
Why would you want to watch a show where the main character's more useless and sidelined than Sakura on a bad day? If she needs everyone around her to do the character and plot work for her, then what value does she serve as a main character? If you want us to respect the characters in your show, then maybe the show should consider doing the same. Anyways, I think we've beaten this horse into paste and gotten all we could out of this useless cabrona de mierda. At least the songs and fights are nice. Also nifty. Nifty's cool. You know guys, the funny thing about all this is that Vivziepop considers herself to be a mix of Charlie and Vaggie. Make of that what you will. Also, Kaiser. What's with that beeping?
Ah shit, I'm being tracked by ICE. I knew getting that cell tower upgrade was a bad idea. You got Wi-Fi down here?